The hospital discharge papers felt heavier than they should as I stared at my banking app. Zero balance. Every account drained. Every investment gone. 3 months in a coma had given my brother all the time he needed to dismantle my life. It's really for the best, Marcus said, sprawled lazily in the visitor's chair. You were always too cautious with money. Dad's company needed bold moves to stay competitive. I folded the papers carefully, my hands slow, my muscles weak after months of atrophy. And those bold moves required my entire inheritance? Marcus smirked. Technically, it was our inheritance. I just consolidated resources, made things more efficient. My name is Sarah Chen. At 32, I was watching my brother justify stealing everything our father left me. But what Marcus didn't know was that while my body lay motionless in that hospital bed, my mind had been far from inactive. The accident should have killed me, multiple fractures, internal damage, severe head trauma. The doctors barely expected me to wake up, but as my body healed, I existed in a strange state of awareness. I couldn't move, couldn't speak, but I could hear, and Marcus, assuming I was nothing more than a breathing corpse, had done a lot of talking. The medical bills were expensive, he continued, checking his new Rolex, bought with my money. No doubt, had to make some tough choices, but hey, you're alive, right? That's what matters. He dropped a stack of bills onto my bedside table, nearly $1 million in treatment and rehabilitation, all in my name. Not only had he taken my inheritance, but he'd buried me in debt. Of course, I murmured, thank you for handling everything. He frowned, probably expecting more resistance. Marcus had always been the risk-taker, the reckless entrepreneur who burned through 3 startups before Dad finally gave him a role at Chen Technologies. I was the careful one, the quiet one, the one who had actually earned my position as head of R&D. But Marcus never understood that quiet didn't mean weak. 3 months of forced silence had given me plenty of time to listen. I'd heard every scheme, every fraudulent deal, every manipulation. He'd used my coma as a shield, spinning stories to the board, liquidating assets, forging documents, and now, he thought he'd won. The company lawyers need your signature, he said, sliding a folder toward me. Just standard paperwork, transferring your shares, consolidating debt, formalities. My hands trembled as I took the folder. The weakness wasn't entirely an act. 3 months in a coma takes its toll. Could you get me some water? My throat's still dry. The moment he left, I grabbed my phone and sent a single text. It's done. He brought the papers. Sarah, my best friend and corporate lawyer, no relation, despite the name, replied instantly, recording everything, keep him talking. Marcus returned, setting the water down with exaggerated care. Here you go, sis. Now, about those papers. Of course, I said, taking a small sip, but first, remind me what happened with the Mitchell contract. I'm still a bit fuzzy on the details. His eyes gleamed. Marcus never could resist bragging. Oh, that was genius. Mitchell Industries thought they had exclusive rights to the quantum processing algorithm, but I sold the same tech to 3 different companies. They all think they've got exclusive deals. I nodded, encouraging him to keep going. The quantum processing algorithm had been my project, my life's work. Dad had entrusted it to me because he knew how revolutionary it was. And now, Marcus was openly admitting to corporate fraud. But what happens when they figure it out? I asked, my phone recording every word. He waved dismissively. By then, it won't matter. Most of the money is offshore already. The company can take the hit. That's why I needed your shares, had to have full control to push it through. I see, I said softly. And the medical bills? Why are they in my name? Dad's insurance should have covered everything. Marcus stiffened, the first sign of discomfort. Well, there were some complications with the policy. I had to make some adjustments to free up capital. Adjustments, I echoed, like canceling my coverage retroactively. His expression hardened. Business is business, Sarah. Now, be smart, sign the papers, unless you'd rather fight $1 million medical bill on your own. I met his gaze and smiled. He had no idea what was coming. I picked up the pen, letting my gaze linger on the documents. One more thing, what happened to Dad's personal research files, the ones he kept in the home office? Marcus froze, just for a fraction of a second, but long enough to confirm what I already suspected. During one of his bedside monologues, he'd mentioned destroying problematic documents. Those old things, he forced a casual shrug. Probably got tossed during the estate cleanup. Nothing important. I knew better. Those files contained Dad's private observations about the company, including his growing concerns about Marcus's reckless business practices. Their destruction was just another crime to add to the list. You're probably right, I murmured, angling the pen over the signature line. Then, my phone buzzed. A message from Sarah. We've got everything, don't sign anything. I set the pen down with deliberate care. Actually, Marcus, I'm feeling a bit tired. Would it be okay if I review these tomorrow? Everything's still a bit overwhelming. Marcus frowned, but he couldn't very well force a recovering coma patient to sign away her assets. Sure, whatever, just don't take too long, the board needs these processed quickly. As soon as he left, Sarah slipped into the room, her expression a mix of satisfaction and disgust. We got it all, every admission, every detail, the fraud, the insurance scam, the document destruction, everything. I exhaled slowly, finally letting the exhaustion show. What's next? First, we get you out of here. My place is ready, accessible bathroom, hospital bed, everything you need to recover. Then she smiled grimly, and after that, we start dismantling everything your brother built while you were sleeping. That night, settled into Sarah's guest room, I thought about all the hours Marcus had spent at my bedside, arrogantly spilling his schemes to what he assumed was an unhearing witness. He'd mistaken silence for weakness, stillness for defeat. He'd forgotten Dad's most important lesson: sometimes, the quietest person in the room is the most dangerous. I picked up my phone and sent a single text, to Michael Chen, Dad's oldest friend and the head of corporate security at Chen Technologies. Time to wake up those dormant security protocols. Marcus took the bait. His reply came instantly. Everything's ready, Operation Sleeping Beauty is go. I smiled, remembering the contingency plan Dad had put in place years ago when he first suspected Marcus might try something like this. My coma had given my brother exactly what he wanted, the perfect opportunity to reveal his true colors. Now, it was time to reveal mine. The next morning, while Marcus was undoubtedly preparing for another day of corporate fraud, I was seated in Sarah's home office, surrounded by lawyers and investigators. My body was still weak, but my mind was sharper than ever. The recordings are damning, Michael said, playing selected clips from my hospital room. Marcus's voice filled the space, bragging about every illegal transaction, every manipulated contract. He basically confessed to everything. Sarah nodded, adding documents to an already massive pile. We've traced the offshore accounts, one of the investigators added. He wasn't as clever as he thought, every transaction left a trail. And the insurance fraud? I asked, flipping through the falsified medical bills. Sarah's eyes darkened. That's where it gets really interesting. Marcus didn't just cancel your coverage, he rerouted the payments into a shell company. The insurance was still active, he was collecting the benefits. I wasn't surprised. Marcus had always seen family as nothing more than a convenient resource. He hadn't hesitated to steal from his comatose sister, because in his mind, he deserved everything, simply because he was smart enough to take it. The board meeting is set for tomorrow, Michael added. Marcus has no idea that half the board members have been quietly collecting evidence against him for months. Your father put some very loyal people in key positions. Dad had always played the long game. The security protocols weren't just about protecting company data. They were about protecting the company from Marcus. I set down the file. And the Mitchell contract? I folded my arms. And the other companies he sold the algorithm to? Sarah's grin was all teeth. 3 separate buyers, each thinking they had exclusive rights. The lawsuits alone could sink Chen Technologies unless. Michael cut in with a knowing smirk. Unless someone proves those contracts were signed under fraudulent circumstances by someone without proper authority. I nodded, because I never actually signed over my shares or my rights to the algorithm. Exactly, Sarah confirmed. Everything Marcus did was illegal. Once we expose the fraud, every one of those contracts becomes void. My phone buzzed. Marcus. Where are you? Need those papers signed ASAP. I turned the screen toward Sarah, who chuckled. Perfect timing. Ready to set the trap? I typed back, at Sarah's house, still too weak to travel. Could you bring the papers here? His response was immediate. Be there in 30. Don't make this difficult, sis. While we waited, the team got into position, federal agents hidden in adjacent rooms. recording equipment primed, every detail meticulously planned. This would be Marcus's last act as CEO of Chin Technologies. He arrived exactly on time, practically buzzing with impatience. Finally, he shoved the documents toward me. Just sign these, and we can all move on. I sat in a wheelchair, partly for effect, partly because I still couldn't stand for long, flipping through the pages at an agonizing pace. It's a lot to process, Marcus. Maybe you could explain exactly what happened while I was sleeping? He launched into his well-rehearsed speech about tough business decisions, protecting the company, consolidating resources. Every word was another nail in his coffin. And the quantum processing algorithm? I asked casually. The one Dad specifically left to me, how did that end up sold, multiple times? Marcus faltered, just for a second. How do you know about that? I smiled. It's amazing what you can hear in a coma. People say the most fascinating things when they think no one's listening. The color drained from his face. You were awake? Not exactly, I said, but aware enough to hear every call, every deal, every confession about what you were doing with my inheritance. He recovered quickly, arrogance slipping back into place like a mask. Doesn't matter, it's your word against mine, and who's going to believe the memories of someone in a coma? That's a good question, I mused, nodding to Sarah. She tapped a button on her laptop. Marcus's voice filled the room. Mitchell Industries was easy to fool, same with the others. They all think they have exclusive rights. By the time they figure it out, the money will be safely hidden away. His face twisted with rage. He lunged for the laptop. And the federal agents stepped in. Marcus Chen, you're under arrest for fraud, embezzlement, and insurance fraud. You can't do this, he thrashed as they locked the cuffs around his wrists. I'm the CEO. I run this company. Actually, Michael said, stepping forward, as of this morning, you don't. The board voted unanimously to remove you pending criminal charges. All your recent deals are under investigation, and your offshore accounts, frozen. Marcus turned to me, eyes blazing. This was all a setup. Not the coma, I said quietly, not the accident, but everything after. That was all you. Marcus, I just made sure someone was listening. The next few weeks were a whirlwind of legal battles and corporate restructuring. Surprisingly, the companies Marcus defrauded were relieved once we exposed the scheme. Many had worked with Dad and respected his integrity. The fraudulent medical bills were reversed. My inheritance was recovered, along with substantial damages. Chin Technologies didn't just survive. It thrived. 6 months later, I sat in Dad's old office, my office now, studying a framed family photo on the wall, taken years before greed consumed Marcus, before he decided family was just another resource to exploit. Sarah knocked, holding a thick envelope. The sentencing report, 15 years, no parole. The judge wasn't impressed by his family-first defense. I took the envelope but didn't bother opening it. Has he said anything? Sarah's expression was unreadable, just that he never thought you had it in you, that you were always the quiet one, the careful one. I smiled, remembering those long hours in the hospital, listening. Sometimes, being quiet isn't weakness, it's strategy. Chin Technologies moved forward, stronger than before. The quantum algorithm, properly developed and legally licensed, changed the industry. Dad's legacy wasn't just preserved, it was secured. And Marcus? He had plenty of time in prison to reflect on the sister he'd underestimated. The quiet one, who turned his arrogance into evidence. The careful one, who dismantled his empire piece by piece. The patient one, who let him destroy himself. Dad would have appreciated the irony. He always said success wasn't about being the loudest in the room. It was about knowing when to listen. And I had listened, right up until the moment it was time to speak.